Welcome to NameCast. So I was thinking today, Kev, it's becoming hard to think of foolish things to say at the beginning of these episodes.
We've done a lot of them.
We've done a whole bunch of them, and what we've done them for is NameCast. So hello, everybody. Welcome to NameCast. My name is Nathan, and beside me is
Kevin.
Now, this is our weekly games show, our podcast that posts all around the globes.
Yeah.
And, we talk about a specific video game every single week, specifically an indie game. This week, we're talking about Firewatch by Campo Santo.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Big one that
pretty
came out
good.
last year.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it came out last year. So we're going to be talking about that later in the episode. And next week, if you want to play along with us and be a part of the conversation, we're going to be playing Antichamber. So get ready to get your puzzle on.
Yeah.
I've fought this one for a while. Like every week, I feel like you've been like, can we do Antichamber? I'm like, no.
I've been wanting to play it.
I know, man. And I'm so scared of the puzzles. But anyway, so we're going to be playing that next week. Now, we're also going to be talking about other things because we do news and all that on this show. So we're going to be talking about SGDQ, Summer Games Done Quick, the Installation 1 project that's been given blessing by 343, and Platinum Trophy issues on the PlayStation systems. Mm-hmm. But Kevin, we got to get it out of the way here. What have you been up to? What's the housekeeping?
Not a whole awful lot.
Okay.
I've been doing some camera stuff this week. Went out to a disc golf course.
Yeah.
Got bit by a bunch of mosquitoes, which I found are oddly attracted to my camera.
Specifically your camera?
Specifically camera. Yeah, they just hover around it. So I don't know if it's like...
Was it hot out? It could have been like, because it's a black camera, maybe. It absorbs light a little more.
I don't know. I think it's probably something to do with the plastics. A little scent that attracts mosquitoes, because that's pretty much all they go off of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a little bit interesting. I hope too many don't fly in front of my lens. Because tomorrow, I'm doing a big old shoot, and you'll be joining me for that.
Yeah, so what are we doing?
We're going to be filming a disc golf tournament here.
Yeah, apparently there's going to be some good players, too, from what I hear.
Some people from the United States of America.
Whoa, all the way down there.
Wow.
Distant lands.
Yeah. So yeah, doing a bit of that and just kind of planning for that and stuff. And as far as games, the only games I played, didn't do the Halo thing this week. And played Firewatch for this.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
That's pretty much everything for me.
Wow, tight week. What I'm up to? I played Firewatch, and I also played Antichamber to get ready for it because I expect this coming week to be very busy.
Yeah.
It'll be good. I can't talk about why yet because it has yet to be confirmed. But hopefully next week I'll be able to chat about all that and stuff. Other than that, just been biking a lot. Biked through the city for the first time the other day. Because what I want to do is I want to bike through a lot of cities going forward, and I have a big trip planned out. And but we live in a very small city.
Yes.
Right? So I was like, how do I treat it as if it were a big city? Well, I just go out on Canada Day, like one of the busiest days of the year here, in one of the most populated areas. Yeah, exactly. So I was going through it. Man, you got to have a head on a freaking swivel going through. It's just like I am turning left, right. Like there's people flying at every direction. There's this and that. It's something else, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I had like the mental capacity to do that for like 5 or 6 hours straight.
Yeah, hopefully you don't really put yourself into the middle of downtowns.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to plan that out and avoid that when I go on bigger adventures across the country.
Stay at the trucker hotels.
Yeah, the trucker hotels are where people die, though.
That's fine.
Just don't get dead.
Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, that's what we've been up to. Now, Kevin, we got some news here. We got the SGDQ Summer Games Done Quick. What is that exactly?
It's the thing I talk about every twice a year.
I know, but maybe people forget.
Yes. So it's a speedrunning event that raises money for charity, normally related to cancer and Doctors Without Borders.
Yes.
I forget which one. Like, so the summer one is one of those things, and the winter one is the other.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, they're raising money, doing speed running, and it's usually a super entertaining week and a bit long event. And this one starts, I guess, middle of the day Sunday.
Right now.
Yeah, so it's currently ongoing when this when we're recording, it just began, and when this release will be ongoing. And yeah, I'm sure a bunch of cool runs will have already happened that you can catch the VODs for, or if not, definitely make sure to tune in on like the final night because those are always super entertaining.
So now, have you checked the schedule at all?
I checked it out a while ago, back when it was like announced.
Yeah.
There was definitely some cool runs on there. I think Luigi's Mansion is really early on, like sometime today. So yeah, I'm super excited to watch that one. There's a Dark Souls 3 with the first DLC, like all bosses.
Oh, nice.
Which, yeah, should be super awesome. And yeah, there's nothing crazy. Oh, there's Halo Combat Evolved today as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really exciting. And Metroid Prime right after Luigi's Mansion. So yeah, it starts off really well. The rest of it, like through the middle, is pretty okay.
Yeah.
And if I remember, they did something a little interesting at the end, because I think I mentioned this the last time or two. Is the endings they've been changing it up a bit more because they've had some issues. Normally they end on Super Metroid.
Yeah.
And do like the save or kill the animals donation drive thing.
Yeah.
That's actually on the second last day.
Okay.
Instead of the final day, and they're actually ending the thing on Earthbound.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some mystery game before Earthbound that we'll find out. But also Majora's Mask before that, and Super Mario 64 before that.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I don't know what Super Pango World is, but Super Mario 64 to the end of the day, like those are going to be some awesome games.
Nice. Assuming
they put something cool in that 50-minute block of time they left open.
Very cool. Oh, I'm excited to see the Super Hot speed run. That's going to be cool.
Yeah. Actually, that gets into some housekeeping I forgot.
Yes.
I bought some games, too, because Steam Summer Sale's going on, right? Yeah. What I'm finding, actually, is I think I bought, like, a lot more games than I usually do last year, because, like, looking at these sales, like, I already own pretty much all of them that I want.
Yeah.
However, I fleshed out that list a little bit more. I bought Cave Story Plus.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of really good things about it. I'm not sure if it's exactly the type of game for me, but I want to check it out.
Is it a shmup?
Like a platformer shmup kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of like comparisons to like, or Downwell got compared to it a lot because of the combat being very well integrated into other mechanics.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see that. I got the complete season of Life is Strange.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm excited to play that. Should be a good little story. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Ties into this week's game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
A little bit.
Same voice actors.
Yeah.
In one of the... Anyway, we'll get into it. Yep.
And Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is one you love.
Yeah, buddy. You know what? I've been hankering. I've had to have time, but I've had a hankering to play it. I reinstalled it on my computer. And we'll be playing it on the podcast in a couple weeks. Yeah. So prepare for that. So if you want to pick it up now to play along with us, go for it.
Yep. And the other thing I got was Super Hot.
Super Hot.
Both,
You got
both
the
VR
PC
version and
too.
VR.
So now, okay, when are you going to pull the trigger on those Oculus Touch controllers?
Probably my next paycheck in a couple of weeks.
Oh, dang, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're actually, I think the prices on them went down.
Yeah?
They're cheaper than I remember at $140 Canadian.
Okay.
No, I think they used to be $200. And a buddy of mine who's also into VR kind of confirmed that for me that they went down at some point. I think when the Vive price went down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, these are quite good.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about the controllers. I'm really excited to use them, especially for Super Hot VR. Like, apparently that's like the best VR experience that you can get right now.
Because they provide a better level of tracking than the Vive controllers, if I've heard correctly, I believe.
Yeah, and that they're just more comfortable, a little more usable.
Okay.
Yeah. Tracking, yes and no.
Okay.
Like, you have to be in the cameras, and the cameras have a weird shape as opposed to the room scale, which is pretty close to just being a square.
Right. Gotcha.
Or you at least set up what that area is, so it's kind of easier to stay in the bounds.
Yeah.
But the touch controller is a little more accurate while you're in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you get any other games? Or is that the
list? I picked up a few soundtracks to use on this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, believe it or not, actually, for most of the stuff that we do on this, we get that music like we buy it.
Yeah.
It's usually you for the most part.
Just me. Yeah.
Well, I bought a Shovel Knight soundtrack once for one of the Let's Plays.
Ah, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so that's pretty much it. But yeah.
I don't know, for a few bucks. Support some awesome music. Really, like all those soundtracks I've been very happy to
my favorite,
have on my computer.
The
so
Danger
far.
Zone soundtrack. Oh my god. Whoo! Knocked my socks off.
Yeah.
Jokes. So installation 1, what is this, Kev?
So installation 1 is something that like I've kind of wanted to do. It's a fan project to make Halo multiplayer, basically.
Okay.
But like that Halo 1, 2, 3 style multiplayer, not the stuff afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
They're making it in Unity, apparently.
Yeah. Huh.
So yeah, it's kind of just this fan project to do that, and basically they were worried for a long while that they were gonna get shut down by 343.
Yeah.
And I guess they were pretty aggressive about reaching out to 343 and be like, "Hey, are we good?" And then eventually 343 like made a statement. It's like, "Yeah, you guys are good. Here's what you can't do."
Okay.
But so far you guys aren't doing any of those things. And yeah, it's basically just sums down, just don't get yourself confused with a Microsoft product.
Right. Yeah.
And don't use our stuff.
But they can still use the Halo IP?
Not the Halo IP.
Okay.
So yeah, it's installation 1. It is very Halo-like.
Right.
Looks a lot like Halo. Should play like it. I haven't actually tried it. But yeah, it's as long as they're doing good, then I guess they're doing good. But I don't know. It's
yeah.
It was a great statement. But like, yeah, one thing that kind of worries me though is Halo, especially the earlier designs, are very controller centric.
Okay.
The way that Halo is different from regular FPSs are different because they were trying to make it work well for a controller.
Right.
Which means this fan project would be optimally played
with the controller.
On a controller.
Yeah.
And everybody using a controller.
Yeah.
On a console. But obviously this isn't going to be like some big release project, on the Xbox One.
Yeah, it's probably
like that's not how it's going to live. So I feel like they'll never be able to capture like the magic of Halo 1, 2, or 3 simply because of that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So now what does it mean to be a game that's optimized specifically for a controller? Like what does that entail exactly?
So it was mostly just the design decisions of the game. So Halo, you turn slowly because you're using a controller. You turn slowly with a controller. However, because of that, you actually have a whole bunch of health, and the guns don't do much damage, so you live for a long time.
Right.
Right. It takes like at best like 2.5 seconds to kill somebody, which is enough time for them to turn and stuff.
Yep.
So there's that aspect, which is just a bit the 1v1 shooting, but really how the team play works out is that it is focused on making sure each of your teammates are looking at their own kind of area, and that people look at like enemies together and shoot, like team shoot enemies together.
Right.
So a lot of the actual being good at Halo, like above just like being accurate or being able to move around the map smoothly and stuff, is actually just knowing where to look when.
Okay.
Right, and that's a big part of what Halo competitive is. Whereas if you're playing, I don't know, Counter-Strike or some PC shooter, where you're looking really doesn't matter that much because you can change where you're looking in a quarter of a second.
Right. Yeah, gotcha.
Right. So, yeah, and you can punish people just for looking the wrong way. And, like, that's even, like, emphasized in, like, assassinations are kind of celebrated in Halo. And that's the reason why is because, you're punishing people for looking the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I mean by saying its design is controller-centric.
Okay. Very, very cool. So now, next thing we have that I think is interesting is, if you didn't know, the game, I forget the name of the game. It was really dumb. It was like Super 5 something other. What do we got here? Just a second. Anyway, Sony pulled a game from their store because it proclaimed itself as just basically a really fast way to get a platinum trophy. Now, if you don't know what platinum trophy is, so Sony has a trophy system for achievements, basically. So it's similar to the Microsoft achievement system, but better. It's basically the same thing. So you get trophies instead, and when you complete the game and get everything in it, or you get all the other trophies, then you get the Platinum Trophy. Now, it's called, 5-star 1000 top rated. Yes, that is literally the name of the game. And what this game is it's a super easy puzzle tile game.
Yeah.
Something that's kind of sketchy about it, though, it's made from a company that sells PS4 themes, and the the game just uses the themes as the tiles, right? So it's like kind of like a tie-in thing. And how they advertised it was they said you can it was claimed that you could get the Platinum Trophy in just 20 minutes. Now, the interesting thing about the Platinum Trophy is that certain indie games aren't allowed to get it, like good ones.
Yeah.
And they request it, and Sony's like, nah. So from what I understand from hearing Greg Miller talk about it for years and years, is that people just need to push. And they need to be like, no, we really want a Platinum. And Sony's like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it goes. But then why the fuck would they let something like this get a Platinum? You know what I mean? Like, this isn't even really a game. It's just kind of garbage.
Yeah.
So it sets up the idea of a gatekeeper because, people are saying, oh, Sony's pulling it. That means they're paying attention. Well, no, it's clear that they're not paying attention if they allowed this to go on. It's basically someone selling a Platinum Trophy for $2.
Yeah.
Making a little bit of money off of it and doing not really much on their end.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this thing's been on the store for a while, right?
A decent while, yeah, from my understanding. Yeah, but I don't know, man. It's really interesting because, I talked about it a while back. There was a game called My Name is Mayo, which was basically the same idea. There's literally a jar of mayonnaise and you tap on it. And if you tap on it like 1,000 times, you get your Platinum Trophy.
Yeah.
But the only reason why Sony didn't pull that game is because they didn't advertise themselves as being a fast way to get a trophy, basically, is what's going on. So you know what I mean? Like, clearly they're not paying attention, but should they be shutting down certain games from entering on their store? Because ultimately, I think at that console experience, you're dealing with you are dealing with some hardcore gamers, but on the whole, you're really dealing with more casual gamers for the most part, right? You're dealing with families. You're dealing with, the parent who only has an hour a week to play a game and they look on the store for something good.
Yeah.
You would prefer that to be, or you'd think they would prefer that to be a kind of a curated experience and like only quality experiences on there for the most part. And sure, I understand quality is subjective, but a game that advertises itself as the fastest way to get a Platinum Trophy, and it's pretty much garbage. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. At some point, quality is not completely subjective, and
I
think it's pretty obvious that these people aren't putting much effort into making these games and just looking to make money off of a store place of, I don't know, potentially gullible people, or people are putting too much meaning into the Platinum Trophy.
Well, every game that's put up there sells at least 1,000 copies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it's put in front of a lot of eyes and people just being like, what the hell is this? $2? Sure.
Yeah, it's like that's what you get with curated stores, and I don't know, Sony's just doing a bad job curating, it seems.
Yeah, but it also brings up the question of if I'm someone who wants, if I want that, is it okay for Sony to be like, nah, you can't do that? Like, you know what I mean? If that's the product I want to pay for, is there something wrong with that?
Not really. Like, this gets into what I've talked about a couple times, where it's like it's just best if we have multiple storefronts.
Yeah. Within a console, you mean? Or what do you mean?
Well, like I talked about it in terms of PC gaming and like, Steam and Itch and GOG and
I understand
Green Man
it within
gaming and that
PC
kind of
gaming,
stuff. But like I think even in console, and I definitely think that there should be the brand ran store, like Microsoft running their store for Xbox and Sony running their store for PlayStation. But there should be options outside of that too. Like, if there's some experimental thing that, somebody wants to put up for people to try on their PlayStations, then, what's wrong with giving them an option to do that?
I think that will never happen.
Oh, I really doubt it will. Just
because, those companies want a cut of the pie. And when they're selling it on the store, they get more of that cut, right? Am I misunderstood?
Well, no, you can still do cuts like through other storefronts and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah,
but there's still there's a certification thing that would probably still need to happen. But I think there's definitely room for some kind of like opt-in storefront that's like has it's a little more open to developers to experiment in. Kind of like what Steam did with like the early access sections and that kind of stuff. What they're trying with that. I'd like to see console people try and do something a little more similar to that, because they are pushing for like Unity and Unreal Engine games easy to build for these consoles on.
Right.
But they don't have any kind of way to make it easy to sell on. You still have to like contact them and like do a sales pitch to them for your game, and it's a lot of work to get it on there. I
get what you're saying, but at the same time, as we're saying that consoles, on the most part, tend to bring in a more casual audience, how do you think a casual player who doesn't really know much would react to playing a game and it's buggy as shit and broken? And
that's what I mean by opt-in, right? Yeah. Like something like a more hardcore user can go after.
Okay.
Right, and it's not like console is void of hardcore people. Like there are people who are very into video games who use consoles pretty much exclusively.
But the majority is more I don't want to say casual, but I don't know, the more everyday gamer.
That wouldn't be that interested in that type of stuff, but I don't know. I think it's still a sizable portion that could be interested in that kind of stuff. And I think that's really the next step for console manufacturers to aid indie developers on selling games on console instead of just going through Steam, which is now even easier than ever because of Steam Direct.
Yeah, $100. Done.
Yeah.
Super easy. It's interesting, too, because it seems like that's how Sony tried to launch their platform initially. They brought up all the indies back in that classic 2013 conference at E3, and they brought up all these indies on stage and say that they're making waves and trying to make things easier for indies. Well, I think with Sony's marketing and everything like that, it seems like they're not really going along that side of things at this point.
They really don't seem that interested in indies anymore.
No.
I'm pretty sure that Unity and Unreal supports PlayStation, but I hear like next to nothing about updates for like building for those things. Whereas Microsoft and even Nintendo are updating for building like for their platforms on there way more often. And Sony didn't even show any E3 or indie games at their E3 conference.
Yeah, which is really peculiar. So I don't know, because I remember, I forget who it was, but I remember hearing one of the executives talking about that, and he was just like, it's not really pressing for us right now. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know. It's weird, too, because like you look at Microsoft Showcase, and there's a shit ton of indie games that people were like super impressed with, and now that's related to Microsoft.
Yeah, and probably a lot of those are going to be coming to PlayStation as well, but they didn't get the spotlight.
Yeah, well, even then, like it's in people's minds as, I saw this at the Microsoft show.
Yeah.
Yeah, check for that on my Xbox.
Yeah, so I don't know. Really interesting that they're deciding to go that way, because this is why we do a podcast on indie games. But if you only play AAA games, have fun playing like 2 games you like a year. You know what I mean? Like that's you get more experiences this way. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there, Kev. But I think that's probably a good a time as any to transition into our topic of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the game we're playing this week is Firewatch. So this is developed by Campo Santo and published by Panic. Now, it was launched in February 9th, 2016. It's on PC, Linux, OS, all the stuff, basically. So now this studio, Kev, kind of interesting. It was founded in 2013 by 4 friends of varying different backgrounds. I think the lead fella, whose name I can't remember at the moment, he worked on the Telltale games, specifically Walking Dead.
Yep.
And he was involved in that, so that's kind of interesting. And Firewatch is their first game that has come out. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now the game is set in 1989 in the Wyoming wilderness. It features Rich Sommer. So now have you watched Mad Men?
No, I have not.
Which I think is weird, because when I think of like a show that like, when I think of Kevin as a show, I think of Mad Men. So like I think you'd really like it.
Yeah, I think I've heard that before.
Anyway, he's Harry Crane. In that, he's also in Glow, I believe. Oh, no, wait, maybe that's a different guy. Anyway, and he's the game's lead, so he plays Henry. And then we have Cissy Jones, who I was talking about a little bit earlier, who plays Joyce Price in Life is Strange, and she plays Delilah. Now, what we normally do is we don't get into spoilers until we say we are going to do so. So, that's just kind of what we do here. I should also note that apparently this is going to be a movie.
Oh, really?
Yes, Campo Santo has partnered up with Good Universe to adapt it into a film. Now, if you don't know Good Universe, they are a production studio behind, I don't know, like Neighbors and Don't Breathe and some of those other movies.
Okay.
Have you not seen Neighbors?
No, I haven't.
Have you not seen Don't Breathe?
No.
Okay, these are legit movies. I
know.
But anyway, yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting, I think.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
The game kind of plays out like a movie in a way. So what the game is you start off and you are Henry.
Yeah.
Now, I like the way that this game starts off because you kind of get like a text adventure kind of thing to pick the decisions at the beginning.
Yeah, it's a real simple thing. And like normally, like I'd call it kind of lazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, what it does is like it gives you kind of a little bit of exposition, a little bit of story. And then there's like a line that you have to click on to progress.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, that's okay. I guess like you need to slow it down as some amount, but what they did that was really nice is that you have to click on that line that is almost always some action that Harry did.
Yeah.
And like just clicking on that makes you feel a little bit of ownership for doing that action.
Exactly.
And like it's impressive how much like emotional attachment they build up for these two characters in the intro. Like
in like 2 minutes. Not even. Yeah. So basically you have Henry and then you have Julia, and Julia is going to eventually become his wife. So, you get Henry's drunk when he meets her and he says something stupid, and then she kind of makes fun of him, and it's this path, and they go down their life, and she gets a job all the way across the country.
Yeah.
And so you get the option of being like, no, don't do it, or well, yeah, you can do it, but you have to commute back and forth kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it goes on, and at the beginning of this, I kind of felt a bit of a disconnect between Henry and myself. And like, it's like, what would you do? And it's like, well, I wouldn't make either of these options.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's immediately set up in my mind. Like, Henry and I are very different people.
Yeah.
Like that
teaches you who Henry is as a character.
Exactly. Which is really interesting for sure. And then what ends up going on is Julia ends up getting Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
At the young age
Early
of like
onset.
Yeah, like 39 or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, and if you're not familiar with Alzheimer's at all, I mean, obviously, it affects your memory and everything like that, but you just think of it as being something like, oh, I forgot where the keys are, like something like that, but it's actually pretty devastating.
It's aggressive.
Yeah. So it reaches points where, she doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
And, she's just going places, totally forgetting where she's going, why she's doing things. It'd be pretty emotionally disruptive, to say the least. So anyway, she ends up going back with her family back to Australia, and Henry doesn't know what to do. So he sees an ad in the paper that says they're looking for a Firewatch, so someone just to be out by themselves in the wilderness to watch for forest fires all summer.
Yep.
Says game, goes for it.
Yep,
and that's kind of where you're starting off in this journey. So now it plays as a first person, kind of a walking simulator.
Yeah.
Is how this be described. And I mean, we just got to start off here. This game is beautiful.
Super pretty.
Oh, it has such a nice art style.
Yeah, they did a lot of really, really nice stuff.
It's kind of like
as far as technical effects go, they use a lot of bloom, and they do color grading as well.
Yeah,
actually,
which, a lot of it. Man, those
pays
sunsets
off very well. Oh yeah,
those sunsets are nice. It's kind of like a low poly style almost.
Yeah, it's
like mid poly. What would you call that? I don't know.
High low poly.
Yeah.
It's got a simplistic kind of art style, but it has detail where it needs detail.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's a really beautiful area, and I have to give credit to the way they designed this park. Basically, you're in like a big national park, kind of near Yellowstone, and it's just like it was really, I think, well designed, and like this feels like a national park kind of way. Like it has little grooves and paths in it, and like signs on where to go.
Yeah, they did a good few GDC talks about both the art design and like the environment design and tricks and stuff they used. How they made the game. I definitely suggest watching those if you're interested in game development processes.
Yeah, some great GDC talks sometime, man. Always good ones on there. Anyway, so it's really interesting to see that. And, you just kind of get, I don't know about you, but I felt like connected to certain areas, being like Jonesy Lake. I know exactly where that is. You know? And you go down there, like there's just certain spots.
Having areas that you like more than other areas.
Yeah, and I think something that it does well is it also like it doesn't give you a mini map or anything like that. You know, because I find in something like, let's say The Witcher, you know, I was playing it and it's a big, beautiful open world. And what I was looking at 95% of the time was a little map and a little blip on a screen. You know what I mean? Like going towards it. So I like that they didn't give you the option to do that. And if you wanted to look at a map, it was kind of clunky and obtuse, like a real map. Yeah,
there's a physical map that you can bring up, and you have to like look closer at it and
kind
of scroll around it to see what it is you're looking for.
One of the things that I wished that it didn't actually show you where you were on the map, and that it just had like more terrain details.
Yeah,
I think that would be nice.
To do that, they definitely would have had to make it more obvious where you are in the terrain.
Yeah,
because. Yeah,
it was a little confusing at points.
Confusing sometimes, yeah.
But I don't know. I like the idea of having to properly orient myself because I don't know about you, but I never used my compass once.
Oh, really?
Oh, you used it a lot?
I used the compass and fell back on the map.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never. I think I looked at the compass a couple times, but I was like, I'm just going to orient myself based on this blip on the map.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was like, okay, I know. I'll look at the map, find out which direction I have to go.
Yeah.
And then if I'm ever kind of unsure if I'm still headed in that general direction, I'd bring up the compass and be like, yeah.
Okay.
Or, oh, shit, like, I need to turn.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. Now, what do you have to say about the music of this game? It's kind of sparse, but I think when it needs it, it's good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's towards the end, it uses it all right a few times, but it's kind of interesting. I feel like a lot of the times, like just during the middle of the game, like when it comes in really strong and noticeable. It's not very smooth how they bring it in, but the music itself is actually quite good.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those things like there's not much of it. I think it fits the mood well, but I do get where you're coming from, where it's not very strong, but like. I mean, it comes in too strong, but at the same time, it's not like memorable. Like it's not like
it's the music you would expect this game to have.
Yeah. Like you'd expect for a movie, which is them saying that it's going to be turned into a movie. I'm like, yeah, I can make sense out of that.
Yeah,
I guess I don't know if it's going to be a very interesting movie, but
they could certainly make it interesting, fleshing out that beginning part and getting to know Harry and Julia more.
Right.
Or Henry.
Yeah, Henry. Yeah, you can call him
Delilah
Henry
calls him Harry a bit.
Hank.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, so, getting to know Henry a little more would be certainly interesting. Yeah, so if we haven't described Henry at all, he's like a 40-something-year-old man.
Yeah.
He's not trying to find himself, but he's basically gone in here to pretty much run away from his problems for the most part.
Yeah, more or less. He doesn't know what to do. Like, Julia's family kind of hates him for... I don't know how he treated Julia. Like, it's definitely like a tough situation.
His sister seems to like him fine.
Yeah, Julia's sister's all right, and like he mentions that, but other than that, like most of the family hate him for like putting Julia in a home,
right?
And like not visiting her enough. And
do you get an option not to put her in a home?
I
put her in the home.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, we're too similar.
Yeah, a lot of the same choices.
Yeah,
as we'll get into when we go through the story.
Yeah, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely cool to see that because I remember you sent me Aaron Signal's video on it. Maybe we'll remember to put it in the description. But he does a really good video on it. And he starts off by saying like you never really see a 40-something like main character, trying to empathize with their problems. And I'm like, I haven't really seen that. The closest I could think of was The Last of Us, but like it's not really about that.
Yeah, no, and even then, like that 40-year-old character is like stereotypical male protagonist, like brown hair, blue eyes, pretty fit.
Yeah.
And like this guy, like he's on the bigger side.
Yeah.
Like he's a big guy, kind of like a bear. And he's kind
of socially awkward too.
Awkward, and like you can see his face at a couple of points, and he's got a big old nose. Not the most attractive thing in the world.
No, he got a big beard. He's just a dude, basically. Yeah.
He's just a guy instead of just being this like super perfect protagonist.
I know exactly what you're getting at. Yeah. Yeah, so it's certainly interesting to see that kind of a perspective that you don't normally see in games, which understandable. I mean, given the it doesn't lend itself to hitting a wide audience, I wouldn't think.
I mean, you can't.
It's not the safest bet.
It's harder to market the game on that.
Yes.
But, the same vein, is the protagonist of like The Last of Us what the game is about? Like, is it about that like brown-haired, blue-eyed guy and being a brown-haired, blue-eyed guy? No, it's not. It's about the world. And Firewatch did a thing. It's like, hey, we have a very interesting story, and we want to tell that story.
Yeah, because I would say definitely this is about, for the most part, Henry. Delilah as well, but I would say it's about Henry.
Yeah, the story that they go through, though, and that's what they marketed on rather than
the world and that. Yeah,
rather than what Henry looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so definitely interesting to see that. Do you have much more to say before we start to dive into story elements?
Not really, I think. Oh, one thing I did want to mention actually is I really liked the publisher-developer relationship.
Oh, yeah?
And how they did that. You know, because most games, like, it does the intro, and it's like, a game by publisher name here.
Yeah.
And then, like, footnote developed by.
Okay.
And, you know, it's very, very obviously publisher-dominant.
Yeah.
Whereas this, like, when it shows the publisher-developer relationship at the intro and in the credits, it's very much equal footing.
Okay.
Which I just liked that presentation.
Right.
Of it. I thought it was
That's
significantly more mature way to do things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because it's like, okay, guys, these are people making the game. We all know
you wouldn't have anything to sell if it wasn't for these developers.
Exactly.
Like, sure, you're helping with money and marketing and shit, but you wouldn't have anything without them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, it's much better to see that on equal footing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. So, do you want to get into it?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to start to get into story spoilers a bit for the game. So, you know, if you want to go in totally empty, then hop out now, play the game.
Yeah, it
only takes like 3 hours or so.
3 to 4 hours.
Yep, not too long. And then come back, join us for the rest of the conversation. Or if you want, you can just listen through it now, you know, play the game at your own leisure. Or if you already played it, then have fun with the story. So what do you think of the story, Kev? What is it exactly? Because I find it interesting. So basically, you have Henry, who he wants to, you know, go away and forget, but he knows that he shouldn't be there. At the beginning, that is one of the first options he gets to say.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's really, really interesting. I really like the beginning and how they intro. Like, Delilah, you find out later that she's drunk, but she's just this, like, really...
She tries
straightforward,
to
just dives right into who you are as a person, like, immediately. And I don't know, that made me really like Delilah as a character pretty much immediately.
Oh, wait, we should be clear. If you haven't played the game, Delilah is your supervisor who's watching you from another tower far away and just talking to you on radio.
Yep.
Is basically what it is.
So most of the game is actually just story presented through talking back and forth.
Yeah.
As well as some environmental details.
I liked the way they did the talking. I thought it was kind of nice where you hold down the trigger with the left and then you get your multiple options, then you let go with the other. Kind of like a radio.
Yeah, and you get to choose like what kind of thing you want to say.
Or if you want, you can say nothing.
Yeah.
And then there's like, you have options to report in on things. Like, I see a chipmunk, you know. Oh, you talk to her about it. Or
some really mundane things, and some of it leads to some really interesting conversation.
Yeah, but you get some elements between you and Delilah. But what I was getting into initially was, so Henry is in there with the idea of, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah. And
then at the end, he still has the idea of, I shouldn't be here, and it feels like nothing has changed. I feel like there's no arc for Henry at all.
Yeah, and I think it's all right. So, yeah. It's probably just so we're getting the story across, right?
Yeah.
This story isn't kind of your traditional, like, hero's journey or even anything close to that. It is a dark story that tries to emulate something that could happen, like, in real life very well.
Yeah. Because I remember going into this game, and I heard everyone say, you know, it's a beautiful environment, the story is good, until the end. And I can see why they would say that. Because it's not a movie story. Like you're saying, it's not a hero's journey.
You don't get this big payoff at the end.
No, you get this basically, is something spooky happening? Oh, no, there's a big government conspiracy. A couple of girls are dead. Well, it turns out that's not actually the case. And what you kind of expect to have happened has happened. I mean, sure, there's one thing with Ned where it's like, well, I didn't. A rational person would not do that. But
bit of a surprise to what does happen and stuff. But
yeah, but at the same time, it's like, in
the end, it's all like, these are reasonable things that the characters would do, and not some giant stroke of fortunate events to bring everything together.
Yeah,
and give us a happy ending.
Yeah. So ultimately, you know, with my ending, I had Delilah saying, you know, you should just go be with your wife, and he's kind of like, Yeah. Like it's like not much really changes.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, I went to leave my problems, and what happened? not much got solved.
Yeah.
And you could look at that as a criticism of the game, or honestly, it's a bit of a breath of fresh air to have a little bit of more realism and a more mature game, and not just mature in the blood and guts and sex and whatever, but like a mature in the sense
Stuff
of like
it deals with in the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it deals with it in a more honest and realistic manner.
Yeah, well, I think the story is just so much about like just life and living through life, and really like you weren't seeing the beginning to the end of these people's lives. You aren't going to get the story arc of their successes and their failures and that kind of stuff. This is just one summer of their life, and sure, it was a very eventful summer, but in the end, it is, it's just life. Stuff happens, and in the end, really not that much is going to have changed.
Yeah. So getting into actually what the story is for the most part. So you have Henry, he's trying to run away from his past. And then you also have Delilah, who's an interesting character who, the backstory that we get from her is that she had a boyfriend, she loved him a whole bunch, whatever. His sister died. And for some reason, which she didn't really get into, she decided not to go to the funeral.
Yeah, I think she was getting kind of emotionally disconnected from the boyfriend a little bit.
Yeah. And so she didn't do that. And, then he left her, which, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And then she couldn't even bring herself to go through why. So she told her sister that he fucked someone else, right?
Yeah.
And then she just took this job and didn't look back. And that was like 5 years ago or something like this. And she's just been doing this job ever since. And she's an interesting character. What kind of read did you get from Delilah?
I don't know. She seemed pretty easygoing and like kind of willing to just like do whatever. Like, it's like, oh, let's do this. Yeah, sure. Like, that kind of easygoing personality. But at the same time, kind of very reserved in talking about herself. Like, it's really hard to get details on her backstory.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But you can like tell there's a lot of emotional attachment that she grows with Henry.
Yeah, what I get from her is someone who's bored, which fair enough.
Yeah.
And Henry is ultimately your sense of entertainment.
Yeah.
For the most part. Now, is it directly established that she talks to a lot of other people a lot? Because I think at one point they're like, do you talk to other people this much? And she's like, nah, just you for the most part.
Yeah, so she does have to communicate with some other people, but the only person she like has frequent conversations with is Henry.
It gave me very much a that Joaquin Phoenix movie, Her. If you saw it, it kind of gave me a lot of vibes of that.
Yeah, a little bit, because they're both kind of lonely, but they have each other.
Yeah, but ultimately, what I took from her at least is that like she may not be honest with you, and she may be having similar relationships and connections to other people, which is spoilers for her, but that's basically what was going on. He thought he had this emotional connection with his phone. Well, it turns out she was talking to a million other people at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I guess that movie implanted in my mind, this idea of, she could be saying oh, wow, I have the most fun with you and this and that, but like there could be 4 other people that she's talking to at the same time. Not the same time, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't ever feel like Henry was used or anything like that.
No, I don't mean used, but just like she is the only one that he has a connection with, but she has multiple other options, and she could just be bouncing around. You don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me not being a very trusting person.
I didn't worry about that at all.
Yeah. Well, I guess that was just implanted in my head primarily from her. I was like, are they going to pull this type of thing on us? But they didn't.
Yeah.
So they're going through, and what I love at the beginning of this game is you get to do just forest rangery type stuff. So you look off in the distance, she's like, oh my God, someone's doing off fireworks. We have a high fire index right now. Get on that.
Yeah.
So you go down there, and then you go and you find these kids, and they're skinny dipping in this pool. You're like, hey, get out of here, and they're stomping out fires and stuff. I love that shit. That is awesome. And then it goes on from there, and they call you a creep and whatever. Then you find out that your place has been broken into.
They threw your typewriter out the window.
Yes. And, things escalate from there. Now, it turns out the girls end up going missing, and you were the last known person to see them.
Yeah. And
then you discover that someone's been reading it or listening in on your radio transmissions.
Between you and Delilah.
Yes. So, it sets up this bit of intrigue, and there's this fence that's set up that Delilah knows nothing about. And this kind of station called Wapiti Station that's going on there. Yeah. And, it starts to culminate in a pretty interesting way, where you're like, what's going on? Like, these girls are missing. People think I murdered them. we have Wapiti Station. Someone's following us. Oh my God, Wapiti Station's now on fire, and we're implicated in the fire because Delilah says you should just burn this whole place down when you get in there. And then someone recorded that piece of conversation, gives it to you, so it's culminating this big event, and you're like, what's going on? This is where
someone's trying to scare the crap out of you for some reason.
Yes, exactly. And I found Delilah was an interesting character in that, is that she would escalate things.
Yeah.
To the if we were to follow Delilah's mind or chain of events, we would have your standard movie or hero's journey for the most part, I think. Because that's how I feel she interprets things for the most part, whereas Henry is more of a realist.
Sort of. Henry can get kind of very worried about it as well, and you have that option.
I'd be fucking scared too. But yeah.
Well, Henry's the one who got hit on the head, right? He's had the connection with this, and at the beginning, Delilah was very skeptical. Was you sure you saw this? You sure that is what it is? You're not just misremembering things because you got hit on the head or whatever.
Yeah.
And but yeah, eventually she really
she
buys
goes
into
full
it.
panic mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets him a second radio and everything like that. And
yeah, she was kind of smart about it though.
Oh yeah, no, she was. Yeah, she's go to this location.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's pretty clever about that. But yeah, and then it turns out, so the whole time you've been following through this story, that there's this guy, Ned, and his son.
I want to say Billy, but that's wrong.
We'll go with Billy for today. So basically, you had Ned. He was out there. Brian, yes.
Good
and
one.
Ned and Brian. And Brian was trying to get away from the daily grind, or he wanted his son to explore nature a little bit.
Yeah, so he brought his son Brian along.
Yeah.
Which he wasn't supposed to do.
No.
Not supposed to have a kid.
But Delilah was
Firewatch Tower.
you know what? I'll let it slide.
And
wants this kid to have a good summer,
Yeah, and Delilah kind of talks to this kid a bunch and realizes he's a pretty cool kid.
Yep. And he was a kid that he's not like his father in a lot of ways. So his father's an outdoorsy guy, does a lot of climbing and everything like that. Whereas Brian's kind of a Dungeons and Dragons type.
Very nerdy kid.
Very nerdy kid. He's not really interested in that. Well, anyway, it turns out that that Ned was kind of pushing Brian outside of his comfort zone a bit.
Yeah.
And maybe trying to make him become a person that he wasn't. And what ends up happening is there's a climbing incident, which I think is a great PSA, because this is 1989, Kev, and they're using pitons, specifically pitons, as an anchor point, a single anchor point. Don't ever do that because it will kill you. That is my climbing PSA for the day. Oh my God. When I saw that they're using pitons, I was like, okay, pitons are pretty sketchy because they don't hold very well. And I'm like, they're just using single pitons as anchor points? Oh my God. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. I don't know if that's going to apply to anyone out there, but just
maybe
in my heart of hearts, I need to let that information be known. Oh my God. Anyway, Brian dies.
Yeah.
And
falls into pretty deep cave.
Ned obviously knows about it.
Yeah.
And what does he do? He goes into hiding.
Yeah. Just going to live out in the woods for the rest of his life.
Yep. So when you arrive, he's been there for 3 years hiding, and he is the one listening in your conversations.
Yeah.
So, he's recording everything you say, and the Wapiti Station was actually just set up by a local botanist.
Yeah.
And he didn't really tell anyone about it, put up some fences and just kind of did his thing. Well, Ned broke in there, set up a radio transmitter that somehow he got the parts for. I don't really know that part.
Well, I guess he was also into playing around with electronics and stuff.
Yeah.
You see that when you find his little cave home thing.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, then he sets up that to spy on you guys, which ultimately as a story piece is really weird. It's dude, if you just want to hide out, just hide out. But I guess everyone needs a hobby.
Yeah, I think part of it was a little bit going crazy. You get this tape from him at the end. He's like, you guys are really fun to talk to, and calls Delilah a record that you don't have to flip.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And I think part of what drove him to revealing himself a bit is just being what can I do with these people?
Yeah, you'd be lonely after a while, I would think. So anyway, then he hides off, and he takes off and hides. And because you and Delilah are implicated in this, you're kind of going to keep low about it. There's a fire that's been burning that you then have to get evacuated from, and the game ends.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, yeah, you get the little bit of text with Delilah and stuff, and you can kind of talk about what it is that the relationship between Henry and Delilah meant.
Yeah.
Because there's points earlier in the game that you can kind of flirt with her, and when that fire first starts, you can kind of be like, I wish you were here watching this with me, like instead of just talking over the radio.
And she says she'd like that too, right? Yeah. So there's some chemistry there. There's some romantic.
They get along well, but it turns a lot towards the end of the game because Delilah liked Brian as a kid. He was a good kid, and whenever he finds out that Brian basically got killed by Ned's incompetence as a father,
she let slide. As well.
She could have reported Ned for having a kid out there and being like, get that kid back to the city.
Yeah. So ultimately, you and I chose the same ending at the end when she's like, what do you want me to do? And, I both said, come back with me to Boulder.
Yeah.
And she's like, no.
She doesn't want any of that because
she wants to forget all of this part of her life.
Yeah.
And you're a part of it.
Yeah. Pretty big part. You're the one who told her that, Brian's dead.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is really where the story. This is where I found the payoff in the story that I guess other people didn't find to be quite a payoff. Was that this is a very real kind of human emotion and desire that it could relate with at the very least, and I understand why the story ends here. It's because Delilah as a character needs this to end.
Yeah,
she wants to get away from it. Yeah,
she wants to get away from this and.
Which is kind of funny. That's a recurring theme through this game, is just wanting to get away from your troubles and stuff. And, it's kind of funny that there's pretty much no character growth.
Yeah.
After that.
Well, that's why we were saying, it's such a real tale, that's what happens when you try and run away from your problems for the most part. It's just you don't really change much. You don't really address anything.
Yeah, you either just have to keep running away.
You're just kind of the same person.
Find new problems to run away from.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just kind of bumping into. And sure, you learn things along the way, but it doesn't really change much. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the end, Delilah asks you what you're gonna do, and basically, I don't know if you have any other options other than
No, she tells you what to do.
She tells you what to do.
Yeah, and so for me, she said, "Go back and see your wife."
Oh yeah. Yeah, but your responses are basically no.
Yeah, what'd you pick for a response? I think I said yes. Okay, I understand.
Oh, yeah, I said no.
Yeah. Oh, you said no?
Yeah.
Oh, what was the response?
Kind of similar to she tells you a few times earlier in the game to go visit her, and she understands that it's a really difficult thing to do, and it's kind of just like that at the end as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Overall, as a story, it does have that kind of. It's not what you want to happen, because you would expect something else, right? It's not the ending you want for these characters. But at the same time, as far as the likability, these characters are charismatic, sure, but they're real. They're not the most likable people. They're not. They're not someone you're rooting for above all else.
Significantly more relatable than the hero who saves the day.
No, exactly. But Henry, at the same time, I think it's totally fair to call Henry an asshole.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of totally fair to call Delilah an asshole as well.
Yeah.
Given what she's done. So it's yeah, I can get that. So for them to be rooting for them to have the happily ever after ending.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have that feel because they're more grounded characters. They're complex characters. They're complex and nuanced, I mean to say.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to have this ending and have people react so negatively to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, you mentioned to me kind of early on when you were playing, you're like, oh, I sure hope this doesn't turn into some kind of love story.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what people were looking for is at least Delilah and Henry could tackle that problem together.
Exactly.
That'd be a little bit brighter, a little bit happier. Definitely not happier ever after, even that great of a thing.
Is that happy ever after?
But I think that's what people were looking for, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, it was very much not a these two go off and live happily ever after kind of thing. Which is good.
Yeah, it's nice to have that. It pushes the medium forward in some way, right?
Yeah.
Because we have something that's willing to address these issues in such a way and give you an ending where you're just fuck. I had the same reaction actually to. Did you see the movie Gone Home? No, fuck.
That's the video game we played.
No. The Ben Affleck flick. Gone Girl.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. My mom hated the ending because it wasn't a storybook happy ending, but in a realistic ending, it's a conniving person like that. That's probably how that would go down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no. Yep, he's stuck with this. So it's not as dark of an ending as Gone Girl, but
yeah,
it kind of has that kind of feel to it, and it's going to be divisive. It seems like people on the whole have spoken though that this game is well received.
Yeah, I think really if you want to do this kind of story, all you need is kind of like a conclusive ending point.
Yeah.
Gone Girl kind of nailed that, where it's like, yeah, this is just how his life's going to be from now on. And, and this is just like, they did their summer. They spent their time at this national park. Like, this is where things end, and they split off in their own ways.
And I guess part of the reason maybe why it's a negative experience is because you feel like you have no real impact on Henry's life. For the most part, because, as a player, you want to feel like you're making a change or some type of difference or have agency over this world, but ultimately you really don't. You have to name a turtle, pretty much. That's like, as far as your decisions, you don't get much.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because like I don't like playing video games where the world revolves around the character.
Yeah,
and this very much feels like there's a world alive and characters alive that really don't give much of a shit about the character at all.
No, absolutely. And I think that's really echoed well with the environment itself, specifically because it is like a national park kind of thing. So it's like, why would they have a path up here just designed for you? Well, no. People are walking through this path. Like, it makes sense to have a spot to anchor a rope or like to chalk off spots where you can actually climb up. It's like, well, yeah, they realize people are going to climb up this part. Well, we might as well put some chalk on it. Like, it's logical park things that make sense for you to get around this environment.
Or like, there's a little campfire spot right by this lake. Yeah, of course people are going to camp.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. There are some things where it is a little bit clunkier. Like, you were talking to me about a point that...
so...
What is it exactly?
In order to keep the game fairly linear, because you have to just do these little story bits.
Yeah.
And, if you could explore the whole map all the time, there would be a whole bunch of nothing.
Yep.
In order to keep it kind of linear like that, they kind of just put bushes or move trees and, that kind of stuff to block the players from going certain directions.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit weird because, like, you can be blocked by bushes one day and then the very next day those bushes are just clear and you can just go through.
Yeah, definitely weird.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to get to my biggest complaint of the game, and that's the jump cuts.
Yeah.
I wasn't
pacing
a fan.
Is a bit weird. The pacing is, like, entirely centered around the, like, narrative that the game has.
Because, I don't know, you start off and you're on day 3, and the next thing you know it, within 5 minutes later, you're at day, like, 60. And it's like, what the hell happened? Like, so much time skips through. I didn't like that. But at the same time, I don't know. It was inconsistent because sometimes she would be like, "Get back to your hut right now." Okay, I'm gonna go back. Poof, you're there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then other times it's like, "Get back to your hut." Oh, I'm gonna get boofed there again, and then you don't. And you're like, "Oh, that means something's gonna happen on the way."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's that kind of stuff, and I don't know. As part is like just feeling like you're in that world. Kind of sucks to not get to go through that world.
Right.
Like when you have to, like, I don't know. I feel like the game would probably have a lot different feel, and kind of feel more about the world if just simply to end a day you had to go to the bed in your cabin.
Because then you can explore this beautiful world that they have designed at your leisure, kind of, right? Like, which is what you would do if you were a park ranger, or like a Firewatcher. Like that's what you would do.
Well, sort of. You're not supposed to leave that tower technically, but
yeah, I guess so. But if your boss is telling you to do it,
I know. If you're there all the time, like, and especially just like having to walk back from going somewhere, and like, I feel like to really pull that off, they would have had to make significantly more interesting paths.
Yeah.
Especially like, go here this way, return a different way, which they did a little bit when they had to. But just adding more of that and forcing the player to do it kind of definitely get across the feel of just being in a national park in the woods.
Right.
A lot better than what they had with the jump cuts whenever.
But one point where the jump cuts kind of worked for me was it was probably my favorite Henry moment. And it's such a small thing, but he's up there and he's on some rocks and he's just sitting there eating his lunch and he's like, God, this is a beautiful place. And it's like, see, this is exactly what I want. Like, this is kind of why he went out here,
Yeah.
This would be, at least it related closely to me because, I would love this job.
Yeah.
Like, if I had time to do it, but like, this is very much a Nathan thing. Whereas, I rock climber, I bike, all that crap, I'll camping and all that stuff, like that is my thing. So to have someone who's just out there, just kind of sitting on top of a big rock face, looking out at the sunset and enjoying it, I can relate to that so much. And it's just like, this is a really nice Henry. Like, he didn't have to go up there. That's not an efficient way to eat your lunch, but like, he's just enjoying what he has because he has so much free time out here. So I wish we could have saw a little bit more of that from Henry. And I think the jump cuts were kind of a good way to do it, or at least to come back. Like, Henry's living when you're not activating with him. You know what I mean? He still does stuff.
Yeah, just telling that story quickly. And, a lot of that big jump cut was really just like, it just sets up a little bit. Like, there's a lot of just the same days and stuff kind of in and out. And, okay, now we're going to go towards the end of the summer.
Yeah, it's kind of the grind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, though. I don't know, coming on the tail end here, do you have any final thoughts?
Not really. I don't think there was really much more I had to say about the game.
Fair enough. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, definitely.
I would too, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's beautiful. It's we have to give credit to, I don't know about you, but I thought the voice acting was fantastic.
So good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed Rich Sommer as Henry.
Yeah.
He was good, man. He was just really charismatic in the way he delivered his lines, and it was he's just a good actor.
Yeah.
That's clear to be able to tell that. And I like Delilah.
Delilah was great.
She's exactly the character she needed to be.
Yeah.
And those guys knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah, definitely. There was like zero lines that like took me out of it at all.
And the writing was good. There was nothing that really like fell flat on its face or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, we've been playing some games recently that To the Moon.
To the Moon.
Where it was kind of like, oh boy.
The
the
dialogue isn't serving the theme or really
but
stuff like
with
that.
This, the dialogue between the characters was the thing I looked forward to the most.
Yep.
And that's what you want from a story-based game like that when you're hanging off of every word,
Yeah, there's a lot of times I'm just like, can I talk to Delilah about this? Oh, no, I can't.
Yeah, it was kind of disappointing, but I mean, you can't talk to Delilah about everything. Sure, fair enough. There's limitations. But I don't know. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was great.
Thought it was good. I would definitely recommend it.
It's probably on sale right now.
Yep.
It's Steam.
It'll still be on sale it ends on the 5th. So go fast.
Go fast.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we played this week. Next week, we will be playing Antechamber, and get your puzzle hats on because, buddy, this is a weird one.
Oh, yeah.
This is like...
It's got an interesting story to how it was made, though. So
yes, if you want to go, check out the GDC talk on it. What's it called? Antechamber something?
Yeah, just search Antechamber on the GDC YouTube
you'll be
channel.
Able to find it.
It's actually the developer talking about it. He has one that was like the tech side of it and one that was like the kind of story about how he actually got the game out there. The
story behind how he got it out there is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
definitely
really good.
To check it out. It's like an hour and a half long or something like that, but totally worth it. Really good. We'll catch you guys for that. And if you don't know, this is NameCast. This is our podcast that goes up every week. And we have a YouTube channel. You can reach us at youtube.com/NameCast. And we are also on podcast services such as Google Play and iTunes. So if you want, just leave us a review on there, something like that. Even if you don't listen to it as your normal platform, if you could do that, that would help us out a lot. Just get more people in on the conversation.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If you want, maybe share it to a friend. See if they're interested in this type of conversation or if they would like this.
Yeah, if they're looking for some indie games to play. We're talking about a lot of them.
Something to talk about. That is all we do here. Anyway, folks, it's been lovely talking to you. We'll catch you guys next time in our takedown of Bonus Barrel. I'm keeping it a thing, Kev.
We aren't even doing anything other than just saying takedown of Bonus Barrel.
Listen, if you say something enough, you will will it into existence.
Yeah, that's how that works.
I'm pretty sure. I like Bonus Barrel. Bye, guys.
I'm headed off to Shoshone, where the birds and the bees won't know me. Men and war won't exist no more, and there ain't no gals to keep no score. I'm headed off to Shoshone, where the elk and the owls won't know me, where there ain't no judges to whom I gotta plead, 'cause I can be me in Shoshone.